Hi, this is Rainbow Harmony here to help you find balance and peace to live a more colorful life. And this is my first Manifest With Me webinar. Every single weekend, Saturday and Sunday, for the rest of this month, March, I'm going to be sharing my manifestation tips. Along with that, every single day during the week, I'm going to be going live in the morning to help keep you guys energized and boosted as we do this manifesting technique. So we're not actually going to start manifesting until the new moon, which is in 2 weeks. But for now, we're going to think of these 2 weeks after the full moon and in between the new moon as our time to prime ourselves and get ready to manifest. Because I really feel like if we all just go right now and make a list of all the things we want or whatever and try to manifest it, I'm not sure we'd really have the right groundwork laid. So this is all about laying the right groundwork. Manifest With Me episode 1 was all about letting go. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about that today. So go ahead and sit back, relax. At the end of this reading, I'm going to do a pick a card reading for you guys related to this topic. But let's get started. The first thing that we need to realize about letting go is that sadness and depression and mourning and your emotions actually play a huge part in this. So for instance, anytime you're getting ready to manifest something new in your life, it's usually during a time of mourning or depression or loss, because it's loss that triggers us to realize that there's something more that we need, basically, it basically gives root to our desire, if that makes sense. So I found myself pretty depressed about 2 years ago. I had been working for so many years in a job that I was good at, but it didn't necessarily serve me in the grander picture of my life. I had these hobbies and these talents and these passions and these dreams and these visions that I really wanted to move forward on, but I didn't know where to start, and so I just felt really stuck in my situation. I felt stuck in poverty. I didn't know how to make money. I didn't realize that I could simply manifest money. I was stuck in a lack mentality. My mindset was completely off. Not like there was anything wrong with that, it's just where I was at the time. When you're going through loss and depression, it's very difficult to get positive and to feel like you're on top of things. And so it can become sort of like a downward spiral. You start looking around and just seeing all this just things you don't want in your reality, and you keep focusing on it and you keep complaining about it and worrying about it and obsessing about it, and then you just keep getting more of that, and so it can kind of compound. So usually we find ourselves in sadness and in depression after a time of shedding, where old situations, old habits, old people, just things that no longer serve us start to fall from our lives. And sometimes it can be something kind of sudden, like a death, you know. It could be a breakup, it could be like a big life change or a move, it could be almost anything that sparks this letting go process. But basically we realize that we're in that letting go process when we find ourselves sad and depressed. So the first thing you need to do when you're trying to let go and when you're trying to move through the sadness and the depression is to first of all accept that you've lost something. You know, the first thing you have to do is just accept it. And that's the hardest thing for many of us when we experience this big shock, this big change, we kind of go into denial at first. And that is the first stage of the grieving process, is denial. And so the first thing you have to do is accept that you lost something, accept that you've been hurt, accept that, you know, you're depressed and that you're moving through this. The next thing you need to do is realize that this is actually a very normal part of life, to experience sadness, to experience depression, to experience mourning, to experience loss. So these are things that we all go through, and the problem starts when we start to resist these feelings that are coming up. Many times because our schedule's so busy, because we have children and a job, or, you know, mouths to feed, a roof to put over our head, we don't allow the time in our lives for the sadness and for the depression. So it can kind of almost become like this thing that goes to the background. Like, we're moving through life, we have a smile on our face, we're, working at our job, or we're, making dinner or whatever, but deep down inside and in the background, there's this lingering depression, there's this lingering sadness. And the thing is if you try to push it away and you try to push it down, it's gonna come back. So what do we do about this? We can't run from our depression. We can't hide from the sadness. It's always going to be there. It's going to be there for us to confront. And that sadness and that depression is basically what's standing in the way from us manifesting our dreams. So first, what you have to do is accept that you've lost something. Take a moment, set some time aside to write or to cry or to realize, like, I'm unhappy in this situation, or I've lost something here. And usually when you're going through the sadness and when you're going through the depression, it's a message for you. Your emotions come as a message that something needs to change. And it's time for you to create change in your life. So whatever it is that you've lost, I truly believe it can be replaced with something different or better for you, or it can help create like a new shift for you in your life. Whether it's just like a death, death can be very inspiring. It can help mark a new beginning for you, a new chapter in your life. So there's nowhere to go but into it, basically. The depression, the sadness, there's nowhere to go but to embrace it, but to accept it, Just accept that you're going to be sleeping a lot. Just accept that you're going to be sad and like tears are going to be shed. Just accept that you don't want to move forward right now, and like be real with yourself where you're at. And you can't hide or replace the sadness. That's the thing that I realized is, if you break up with someone, you can get a new boyfriend, but that the issues are going to manifest in your current relationship, and you're going to have to confront that. No matter where you go or what you do, these issues are going to follow you. And so we're talking about this because the underlying sadness and depression can block your manifestations. So what we need to realize is that emotions are a huge part of this process, and realize that the most important thing for us to do while we're priming ourselves for manifestation is to make sure that we're expressing our emotions. So we want to make sure that we're expressing these emotions, that we're getting them out, and that we're letting them flow. Okay, so if you're currently feeling really upset, if you're currently feeling sad and depressed, maybe you're numb and you're jaded and it's hard for you to cry. Some people have a difficult time crying. I remember I didn't cry for like 4 or 5 years. It was crazy. I was very dissociated and jaded, disconnected from myself. I was having a hard time crying, and eventually my emotions flowed again. I was able to cry. And crying is important, you guys. It's like a really important release for us. So if you feel the tears coming up, you feel the emotions coming up, try to just go into the bathroom for a second, or just create a safe space for yourself, wherever it may be, for you to express your emotions, cry, and get it out. Usually, if you just let yourself cry hard for like 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes, however long you need, it's going to help. And I used to run so hard from those feelings of like tears and emotions coming up. But now I realize if I don't run, if I just let it flow and I just let it pass through me and I ground myself after, it's a lot better than running from it and then that blowing up and turning into some huge thing later. Because that's what happens with our emotions. They do bottle up if we hold them down. So you're going to express your emotions. Art is a very good way to do this. I love to paint. I love to sing. I love to dance. I love to write. These are just some ways that you can express your emotions. Writing is really good. Checking in with yourself when you wake up every morning is good. We tend to wake up emotional, or sometimes go to sleep emotional. So if you check in with yourself during those times where we process, because your brain wants to process before you go to sleep and when you wake up, you can catch the truth of yourself, because sometimes we hide from the truth of our emotions, we hide from the truth of our feelings, and so we'll walk around and be all positive and happy and try to manifest stuff. Then we'll get upset when it doesn't come through, but the truth is, on the inside, deep down, we were feeling depressed, we were feeling sad, we were feeling unworthy, we were feeling like it's not going to happen. So we got to really get real with this. So after you've processed your sadness, your depression, and your mourning, then we're going to think about, what do I want to fill this space with? Because if you've experienced loss in your life, there's going to be space. And so maybe you can fill the space with a new hobby. Maybe you can fill the space with a new person in your life. Maybe you can fill the space with self-care and just spending time on your own and getting to know yourself, getting to meet your needs. Maybe you need more time on your own. But basically, the sadness and the depression that you reach are a sign that like you've hit some kind of wall, you've hit some kind of block, and it's time for you to think like, what do I need to do to move forward? What do I want to fill this space with? So you want to be honest with yourself. You know, you want to meet your needs. You want to really think about what your goals and your dreams are. You want to set intentions. And that's what we're going to do here in the next couple of weeks. But right now, simply focus on letting go. Simply focus on, if your emotions are going to come up, be honest with yourself. If you're depressed, allow yourself to be depressed. If you're sad, allow yourself to be sad and to cry. Don't force yourself to be happy or fake positive if you're not. Make some safe space for you to celebrate your authentic emotions and just be yourself. So my question for you next, and I wrote it here in my notes, is what do you have to lose? You know, that's the thing you got to realize, is once you get used to experiencing death and loss, you start to realize it's a really beautiful part of the cycle of life. You know, I experienced death in a really real way recently when one of my birds died. It was so sad. She was the cutest bird ever. Her name was Pooters. Cutest bird name ever. I taught it how to like fly to me like across my room. I could hold it on my finger. There's like nothing better than the feeling of like a little bird on your finger. It's like the cutest thing. Anyways, my bird died, and I mean, it was so sad, like literally died in my hands. And I learned a lot from that process. Like, I went through a very emotional grieving process, the whole thing, the denial, the anger, the whole thing, like, and it really opened me up. And afterwards, it was very interesting. There was a lot of shift happening in my life. There were a lot of opportunities that came in, and I very much saw it very connected with the whole rebirth process that happens after a death. So just realize death always leads to rebirth. If you're experiencing a time of death in your life where the trees are bare and there's, you know, nothing going on, just know that spring will come again, and there will be blossoming and blooming and growing in your life, and you're cultivating that right now. So think of this as a blank slate. Think of this as a new beginning for you. Depression and sadness truly are a blank slate, because you're realizing, like, I'm not happy, like I'm sad, like I'm upset. But it's kind of nice because you're starting to realize, like, well, you can make changes. You can create whatever you want in your life, no matter what your situation is, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from. You do have the ability to call energy into your life and to manipulate energy, because we are energy. Everything is energy. Money is energy. And so I'm going to teach you guys a lot about energy this month, and I'm going to teach you guys like how you can be more confident and powerful no matter what situation you're in. So we're starting with realizing that depression and sadness and feeling negative and feeling drained and overwhelmed, this is part of the journey. This is part of the process. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have your whole life together in order to manifest. I did some amazing, beautiful manifestations when I was homeless and having trouble financially. And usually that's how people find their way to manifestation and to the law of attraction. Sometimes you just get so desperate that you've got no other option but to wish upon the star. And that's where I found myself when I discovered the law of attraction. I was totally fucked and I had to figure something out, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna apply for the lottery. We're gonna do that. We're gonna Google some stuff. We're gonna try the law of attraction. I'm gonna chant. I did all the things, and I actually found some that worked, you guys. So believe me, we will be doing rituals, we will be trying all the things, and we're gonna see what works for you. But just know, you're not hopeless. You're more in control of the situation than you seem. If you're at rock bottom, or you're depressed, or you're sad, or you're just lost, then you actually have a huge advantage, because it's a lot easier to go, like, to create with that blank slate of rock bottom and depression. Like, you have a blank slate. You have a lot going for you. So I encourage you, if there's anything you take away from this session, just to allow your emotions to flow. You know, don't allow them to flow at people. I'm not talking about letting things bottling up and then exploding. I'm talking about taking private time for yourself for self-care, you know, to cry when you're in the shower or something, or to write a little poem to get your emotions out, or to dance or sing a song, like to really express yourself and find a place for like these feelings and emotions to go instead of just like pushing them down all the time. So I hope that helps you guys. I'm sending you so much love and light. Peace out.